So don't take that.
We won't take up.
Yes, let's be the
Pods.
in
The only problem with putting the blind up is that now anyone walking past on the street can see the shameful habit that is podcasting.
Well, considering we're on the second level of your house, they'd need to be a very tall person.
No. You can totally see. If you're standing on the footpath on the other side, you can totally see in. I've seen the kitchen tap from the footpath.
Nick, have you been peeking through people's windows?
Through my own windows, Jackal. As an experiment to see how visible I am.
So you're saying that everybody can see through the windows, even the very tall?
Yes.
Okay.
And even the very small.
Are you sure about the very small?
Oh, they probably can't see through the windows, actually.
Yeah.
Where's my fidget pen? There it is.
Fidget pen. Oh, it's just a pen that you're going to fidget
Yeah,
with
by that I mean
during the recording.
Yeah, although there are... have you seen those things that are fidget pens? They've got, like, multiple clickers and, like, springs and
Just
stuff.
buy a fucking pen. It's the same thing. It's
Yeah, but it's one that you can write with and also play with.
That's just a pen. You're just describing a pen right now.
No, these things have additional greeblies on them.
Additional greeblies.
Greeblies, yeah, little bits of nonsense. In retrospect, it's probably not helpful to explain a concept with words that no one's familiar with.
Wait, is greeblies a real word, not just a thing you just made up?
It's a word in the special effects community. Like if you're building a model spaceship, for example, and you want to have all these little bits that make it look like it's a more complex thing, they're called greeblies.
Okay. But you don't watch anything. Why do you know the special effect?
Because I listened to podcasts with Adam Savage on them from Mythbusters.
Okay, you sure Adam Savage hasn't just made this term up? This is
I don't think so.
Some one of those savage terms.
Savage terms.
Savage take.
Savage term.
Guitar noise.
Episode 18 of
18 Pods.
In the key
of Springfield. Pods in the Key of Springfield is filmed in front of a live studio audience.
Ba-na-ba-na-na-na, bump.
Okay, so what did we watch today, Nick?
Today,
I'm James, by the way.
Oh, this is Nick, by the way. Today we watched Season 2, Episode 19, Lisa's Substitute.
Lisa's Substitute.
Season 2, Episode 20, The War of the Simpsons.
The War on Christmas.
The War on Christmas. Yeah, sorry, to give the title its correct term, The War of the Simpsons, The War on Christmas.
So, Lisa's Substitute is one of those episodes that I think people talk about when they talk about the golden age of The Simpsons.
Yes, definitely.
I feel like we have our work cut out for us while talking about this one.
Yes.
Up front, not sure that it was my favorite of the pair we watched today, let alone of all time.
Interesting. It's an episode that I really like, but sure.
I think there's some stuff to dig into here.
Yep.
First question that you asked when we started is on the DVD menu.
Yes.
It's very clear that Mr. Bergstrom is carrying 2 revolvers.
Yes.
Do you think these are real guns?
Well, I mean, there's the scene where he first walks in and starts shooting them and Skinner hits the ground. And from that, they appear to be cap guns. Because I imagine if you walk it... But the thing is, America is such a fucked place. Hello to all our American listeners.
Yeah.
That if a substitute teacher walked up and began openly firing on the students, maybe you would still be able to keep your job there.
Yeah, I don't think you could do that scene today, though.
Oh, no, I don't think so. I don't think so either. And just to be super, super clear, not a fan of anyone having guns, let alone substitute teachers.
Yeah.
But it really caught me off guard that it seems like a very, seems like a very American thing to do.
It's an extraordinarily American thing to do. And Lisa also knows which year the revolver was invented in during this episode, which is strange.
Strange for an 8-year-old to know, but then again, she is American.
Yes,
I
American
bet 8-year-old Australians would be able to tell you when the revolver was first invented.
Yeah.
Most of them probably couldn't even tell you when Revolver, the Beatles album, was first recorded.
When was Revolver first recorded?
Oh, Jesus. I think it was 66.
Okay. Was it released 67?
I don't know. I'm gonna double check that.
Okay, you're on Google already. We're like
Yes.
4 minutes into this.
Yep. Yeah, no.
This blasted
that's
podcast.
Well, while I look this up, I've got a question for you.
Yep.
You came to my house today, and my train line is still down, so you came on a substitute bus. Was it Lisa's substitute bus?
Well, no, it was the James substitute bus. That's what they call it because I catch it.
Wait, who are you, by the way?
Okay, I feel like that's been established.
So it was recorded April to June 1966 and released on the 5th of August 1966.
Good album.
1966, the same year that Australia switched from, I was about to say from pre-decimal currency to decimal currency. That's not very descriptive. On the 14th of February 1966.
And it was a few years before the release of The Graduate, starring
Ooh.
Dustin Hoffman.
Oh, I see.
Which I think came out in 68, possibly 67.
So what you're suggesting there is you want to go back to talking about this episode of The Simpsons.
I think it might be wise.
I'm beginning to learn how this podcast works with you.
So Dustin Hoffman is, of course, the uncredited performer playing Mr. Bergstrom in this episode.
Yes, he
Old mate
also won.
Bergstrom.
He also won the 2017 Brownlow in the Australian Football League.
Don't think that's what happened.
Oh, it's Dustin Martin.
I
Sorry,
think that might have been a different Dusty.
different Dusty.
That's our other podcast, Different Dusties. Each
Different
week we look at
Dusties.
a different Dusty.
And I continually get them confused.
This week is Dusty Springfield, in that we're talking about Dustin Hoffman being on The Simpsons.
Excellent. Welcome to the Dusty Springfield episode. Fucking brilliant.
So, Dustin Hoffman, I had a bit of a look on his IMDb page.
Yes.
Seemed like he wasn't doing a whole lot around then, you know. He'd had Tootsie years earlier and
Tootsie.
Marathon Man and all of those. Rain Man was in 88, which is 3 years before this episode comes out. So
Sure,
it's
sure,
like
sure. Yep, sure.
So like the last really big, like, successful film he had done, I think.
Right.
He had Ishtar, the famously terrible Ishtar, Dick Tracy. Then he goes and he does this.
Hang
And
on.
it's-
When you said Ishtar, the famously terrible Ishtar, is that like the Bond, James Bond of the Dustin Hoffman universe? Like the full name is Ishtar, the terribly famous Ishtar?
The terribly famous and the famously terrible.
Oh, is that what you said? Oh, sorry, I fucked it. But
It's
anyway,
fine.
my joke still stands.
So we've got, old mate Dustin Hoffman here playing Mr. Bergstrom. Dustin Hoffman, who would, of course, later peak his career by playing Adam Sandler's father in The Cobbler.
I believe that is the peak of his career, yes.
Yes, it is the absolute... have you seen The Cobbler, by the way?
Nope. Is that the one about shoes or the one about roads?
It is. Adam Sandler plays a shoe cobbler who
Right.
finds out that when he puts on other people's shoes after cobbling the soles on some magic machine out the back, that he gets to become that person.
What?
And you would think, you know, room for like this
Oh.
wacky sort of comedy in this situation, but it turns into this really grim drama really fast.
Where does this fit in? Is it near Adam Sandler's Click, that other movie that you thought was going to be a comedy and turns into a really dark drama?
It's about 7 or 8 years later than that.
Right. Oh, so
Directed
he
by
had
the guy who, what's his name? I should have looked this up before. The guy who goes on to make Spotlight, which wins the Best Picture Oscar. Something McCartney or McCarthy?
Paul McCartney.
Tom McCarthy?
Paul
I think it's
McCartney.
Tom McCarthy.
Revolver, 1966. Paul McCartney played bass, sang some songs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a
okay.
good album.
Sweet. Yeah, it's a,
Yeah.
it's a
And
perfectly-
eventually they go on to release The Cobbler, which is not as good.
where John Lennon just sings about shoes.
Okay, so Mr. Bergstrom, teacher,
Yep.
pops in. First question to you.
Sure.
Mr. Bergstrom, watching this episode back, is he actually a good teacher?
Dunno, man.
Because it seems like he teaches them nothing.
Yeah. I mean, for whatever it's worth, he gets them engaged. But, I mean...
Yeah, but he doesn't, I don't know.
Is 1830s cowboy history on their syllabus?
Well, it just seems like he spends a lot of time telling Lisa that she's very smart. And, hoping to, obviously
not
he
what
does help her to believe in herself, but I almost feel like that's a happy accident in this episode.
Is that not what you do when you're a teacher, though? You just sit at the front of your little class and say, and you just comment specifically on how smart various members of your
Just
class
one
are?
specific student is, I've got a fucking syllabus.
Yeah.
I gotta get through shit. I gotta teach them about,
Hey,
whatever it is that I teach.
Speaking of the syllabus, when you caught the substitute bus here, was it a sensible bus or was it a silly bus?
It was a fairly silly bus, I have to say.
Excellent. I'm glad to hear that.
So, we got this whole plot line, Mr. Bergstrom, substitute teacher extraordinaire. Then we've got the Bart plot that I'd completely forgotten was in this episode, where Bart runs for class president.
Yes. Oh, God, that's interesting.
Which I enjoyed a great deal. And then this very minor subplot of Homer being weird.
Yeah, this is in a previous episode of Pods in the Key.
Of?
Springfield, you pointed out that season 2 has a trope in it of episodes being non-Homer related for the most part,
Yep.
and then ending with a very Homer-centric resolution.
Yeah, just pivoting towards,
Yeah.
as though the resolution we needed was how does Homer feel about this?
Yeah, and this episode, the last 3 minutes are, how does Homer feel about
Yeah.
all of this? It's very, very strange.
Yeah, it's not quite as bad as it was in Homer, Bert gets hit by a Kurt.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Bort gets hauled by a court.
Yeah, but it's still a little weird. Although I do have some nice things to say about that as well. We'll
Okay,
get to
good.
it eventually
Yep.
in this podcast about The Simpsons.
Podcast about The Simpsons. Now,
Yeah, it's called Pods in the Key of Springfield.
now
Tell your friends.
I've got a note of something I flagged. I'm going to go into talking about Bergstrom's teaching style and the interactive part of his lesson. Have you got anything that you want to say before then? Because I know that
I got a lot of notes here. I'm good.
you tend to be more chronological than me with your notes.
It's fine. I'm all over the place.
okay. So Pemmican.
Pemmican, yes.
Pemmican.
Yes.
So they come back from a cut and everyone in the class is chewing something and he says, right, now that when you're all finished with your pemmican, let's sing a song. And then they sing the song about cowboys where he goes through and points out inconsistencies. So I've looked at
Home on the Range, I believe.
Home on the Range. I've looked at what pemmican is.
Okay.
Pemmican. Pemmican is a concentrated mixture of fat and protein used as a nutritious food. Not
Okay.
sure how I feel about concentrated mixture of fat and protein being described as nutritious. I believe that it is it goes on to say, this Wikipedia article goes on to say, widely adopted as a high-energy food by Europeans in the fur trade, and then Arctic and Antarctic explorers.
So he's feeding the children literal garbage.
Literal garbage.
Like the kind of food that people eat in like post-apocalyptic narratives.
Yeah, although it appears to, and sorry, maybe I should have maybe flagged you in on this before we started opening on all cylinders.
No, I think it's fine.
It appears to be in some parts of North America. It's like a ceremonial food at weddings and things like that. In some of the Inuit cultures and things like that. Is Inuit the word we're supposed to use now? I don't know.
Yeah, that would make a sort of sense because that would be more of a thing.
Traditionally, pemmican was prepared from the lean meat of large game such as buffalo, elk, deer, or moose, and then about 5 pounds of meat is required to make 1 pound of dried meat suitable for pemmican. And then the pounded dried meat was mixed with melted fat in an approximate 1:1 ratio per volume. So basically, you dry out some meat, and then you take 500 grams of dried meat and you add 500 grams of melted fat to it.
Seems like an odd thing to be giving a class of 8-year-olds.
And then you end up with a kind of, I suppose, imagine a super butterified jerky is...
Super butterified jerky.
Yeah, I think that's where we're looking with pemmican. Should I see if I can order some on eBay?
I'm just imagining that billboard, super butterfied jerky.
I'll see if I can order some on eBay. Maybe we'll do an Eat My Shorts where we eat some pemmican.
That seems like a bad idea, but sure. I mean, it's mentioned in one sentence in one episode.
Yeah.
But this seems like something Simpsons fans would be clamoring for.
Clamoring.
Clamoring.
Oh my god. For 12 3-ounce bars, what's 3 ounces? That's like...
It doesn't matter.
It's a tiny amount. Well, hang on. I'll show you. So that tiny... That's like what? Going to be that big? That's like a fun-sized chocolate we're looking at?
Okay.
Or do you reckon it's
How can you tell from the image how big it is?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's like a muesli bar.
It's like, okay, let's say it's like a muesli bar. I can get 12 of those for $174.
Seems like bad value.
I've hit buy it now. I just might put my phone away.
Mr. Bergstrom, he asks Lisa, he says to Lisa, your homework's always so well presented, whatever. He asks, does your father help you with your homework?
Interesting.
I feel like your dad must be helping you. I think Mr. Bergstrom might be a sexist.
Yeah, I wondered
because
why.
He's very focused on the idea that Lisa's dad might be helping her.
Yeah, I wanted that too. Because, my first thought on that was, okay, well, did the writers do that because the writers know that we know Homer's not going to be able to help? He still could have started with the premise of parents, though.
It is very expositional.
Yeah.
Just in the context of, him saying a thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It definitely does presuppose that only the father could be helping Lisa.
Well, the mother's got to be there making all the pemmican.
That's true.
I mean, in Bergstrom's world.
Yeah, in Springfield, that's the role of the woman, is to make the pelican, or the pelicans, or whatever it is. That what it is.
Incidentally, since I did hit buy it now on my phone, Pods in the Key of Springfield doing their first ever giveaway. It's $200 to enter this competition, and you might win some pemmican. Please help fund my pemmican.
This episode was brought to you by a bunch of boiled fats. You bought on eBay.
By ground pounded dried meat and boiled fats. Which is also the name of our double act. I'll let you figure out.
Ground pounded boiled fats.
Ground pounded meat and boiled fats.
Brilliant.
Wonderful.
So, God, there's a lot to say about this episode. Should we talk about the Bart plotline or just carry on with Lisa for a while?
Oh, well, I mean, the thing about the Bart plotline that I find really interesting when he's running for student president. So, you've got a couple of... the scene that stood out to me was the scene where Martin's talking about the government standards person came around to test the school and found so many parts per million of asbestos.
Yeah.
And Bart says, well, that's not enough. We want more asbestos.
More asbestos. More asbestos. More asbestos. More asbestos.
And all I could think was, it is a very good sign that our society, and by our society I mean the world specifically,
sure,
is in a position where it takes more than brainless fuckwittery leading chance.
Yep.
CHANTS.
Yes.
To win an election.
Yeah, there's certainly no examples in the real world, in the political discourse that we experience on a day-to-day level that reminds me in any way. It
is very comforting to know that merely repeating something so that idiots will repeat it back is not enough to win, I don't know, the 2016 US election, for example.
Yeah, it's great that you cannot placate the masses with general tomfoolery that seems to suggest that our perceptions of reality are in some way flawed, or that, it's good that you can't take something that we know to be the truth and then say that it's an untruth and present that in a way that gets the masses excited and boiling over. Okay, so...
Anyway, well, I'm glad we got that out of the way.
Yeah. So, Bart campaigns. There's a poster in this episode that he designs with Homer that says, sex, now that I've got your attention, vote for Bart. Is this the first instance of this joke that I now feel has pervaded society?
Yeah.
Or have they taken that from somewhere else?
I don't know. It's certainly the first instance that I know of. And
you, of course, engage with a lot of content.
Mate, I've watched some episodes of Jamie Oliver, and then I've got a DVD box set over there of the Beatles. They recorded Revolver in 1966. Well, yes. No, I was thinking of that joke because I reckon when I was a kid, I thought that was maybe the funniest thing I've ever seen.
All right.
This is the first example I know of that phrase. Who knows if it's actually the first ever example of that phrase? What are you staring at in my bookcase?
Is there a book over there called Funny Burgers?
Funny Buggers.
Funny Buggers. Okay.
It's an Australian joke book edited by Carl Chandler of the Little Dum Dum Club.
I just got really excited for a moment because it's on your cooking shelf.
It is.
I thought you had a book called Funny Burgers.
No, that would have been that would be amazing though.
We should write this book, Nick.
Called Funny Burgers.
Funny Burgers.
Excellent.
Do you know any burger recipes?
Oh, I know exactly what the front cover can say too. Sex! Now that I've got your attention,
Funny Burgers!
Excellent.
All right, very good. So that's logged in as a business idea.
Yep. We'll fund it with Pemmican.
All right. Pemmican is the new crowdfunding site. Just all the fat and runoff of other crowdfunding sites all in one place.
And that works.
So there's a scene where they go, Homer and Lisa go to the museum
Yes.
on Burgo's advice.
Burger.
And there is a box there with a suggested donation of $4.50 that we both found profoundly fucked.
I mean, you know what? One of my favorite things about going through these episodes and things like that is occasionally there's a thing that we'll both arc up about.
Oh, there's a big one in the next episode.
We both arced up at the same time about suggested donation $4.50. You know what that requires someone to do? Get change from their wallet. Why not make it $5? Even America with their stupid backwards paper money. Sorry, America, you're getting a lot of shots in tonight's drive-by. They've still got a $5 note.
Yeah.
Why isn't it a $5 note donation?
I know, it doesn't make any sense.
At all.
Although it is a good excuse to get rid of your pennies. Because you've never been to America, have you? The money genuinely really sucks.
Oh, yeah.
You end up with like a wallet that is bulging and you have like maybe $14 in there.
Ridiculous. And something that really annoys me is when you see like those BuzzFeed lists of like 14 things Americans don't understand about Australia. And like number 3 is always like, hey, what's up with your weird colored money? No, it's objectively better. It's colored so that you can tell the difference. They're different sizes so that you can tell the difference. It just makes so much sense.
You know, like 25% of our listeners are American, but I think we're doing okay.
Look,
this is fine.
Look, I like Americans as individuals. It's just that get more than 3 of them in a room. Fuck. That's maybe a bit harsh. Sorry, everyone.
Let's extend that to at least 6.
All right, 6. Upwards of 6.
Like every American that I've met while in America, very pleasant.
Yeah.
Yeah, which feels
just-
like a...
It's just that whenever you had to hand over money for goods or services, you became infuriatingly angry.
Yeah. All right, moment of silence in case someone edits some of that. Okay, so there's a joke in this episode
Sure, I like jokes.
that it only clicked with me on this viewing.
Oh.
Somehow I'd never thought about what this joke actually was until
Okay.
I was sitting here with a pen and paper. But when Lisa is marching around outside the classroom, she's going to ask Mr. Bergstrom to come for dinner. And she says, Mr. Bergstrom, do you like pork chops? Oh, no, of course you wouldn't.
Yes.
Never clicked with me before that that's because he's Jewish.
Yeah, interesting.
Never thought about that, even for a moment.
It's weird.
I just always thought, like, the idea there was that pork chops are Homer's favorite food, and thus are like a lower class of food than what
Yeah.
Mr. Bergstrom would like.
Totally.
And this time I'm like, oh no, it's because he's Jewish.
Yeah.
That's like they keep talking about his Judaism in this.
Yeah, I was about to say they keep talking about it a lot.
Yeah.
They-
But I think that's like, I arrived at that conclusion as a child and just never reassessed it.
See, yeah, and that's one of the reasons why doing this watch through is so much fun.
Yeah.
Because we
And
do.
I
get
would
to
have
learn
seen this
things
one
along
as an adult.
Yeah.
But, I never
I mean-
analyzed The Simpsons really before I sat down with pen and paper in hand. And
Totally.
Yeah.
Even when we sat down to do our run through 2 years ago, we wouldn't have picked that up.
no,
I certainly didn't.
no, I was just sitting on your couch, drinking and sad, and I didn't pick up on any of this.
Yeah.
Trying to build a mythology here around my mysterious depression of that time period.
Because the pemmican supplies ran low. You're all out of protein and fat.
Yeah, that was the problem.
What's a boy to do?
So, I guess we're edging closer to the scene where Mr. Bergstrom leaves. I'm looking at the time. We probably should talk about that scene.
Sure.
And they have their little chat, and it's kind of weird. It's a little weirder than I remembered, frankly.
Yeah, there's some undertones in some of the things that Lisa's saying where it's Lisa is very much ready to move out of home and move in with Mr. Bergstrom, and I'm not
Yep.
sure that I don't know if that's age appropriate.
Yeah. And, they have this little back and forth. It's not quite as moving as I remembered until she gets the fucking note.
Oh, the note.
Which is still extremely powerful.
And you know the thing that frustrates me? I was thinking about this in today's watch through.
Yep.
That is a powerful moment, and I was finding myself getting choked up on today's viewing. And then I just got really annoyed at the internet, because the whole "You Are Lisa Simpson" thing has been cheapened by memery.
Yep.
And it really annoys me when things get cheapened by memery.
By the way, Nick, I got a little note for you. Here we go. I wrote you a little note.
You've actually written me a note, and you're actually handing it to me. I don't want to know what this says. Your name is Homer Thompson. Okay, I see what you've done there.
Hello, Mr. Thompson.
Well, this isn't the watch through of Cape Fear, which I believe.
What's the what? Sorry,
Cape Fear. Is that the episode that?
Are you talking about the Robert De Niro film directed by Scorsese, or the original with Gregory Peck?
Gregory Peck. That was To Kill a Mockingbird.
Yeah, that was why I killed that mockingbird. Because it reminded me of Gregory Peck.
I
just watched The Omen and I was feeling angry.
I respect your decision to kill the mockingbird, but did you have to bring it in to my house and boil it down until it was dried and then mix it with fat and call it pemmican?
Well, maybe if you'd gone and set a Watchman, I wouldn't have been able to make it into your house.
Gone and set a Watchman?
Go and Set a Watchman is the sequel to Kill a Mockingbird.
Is it about people who work exclusively in timepieces? Go and set a watch, men. Today, you are timepiece men.
That would have been a better novel, I think, than what we got. Go Set a Watchman is a fascinating piece of writing that I almost caused an incident with. Because when it came out, my local Target started selling it a week and a half before it was meant to go out.
Ooh.
And I saw it on the shelf and thought, oh, that's interesting. I guess it broke embargo. So I bought a copy and I posted a picture on Facebook. And about 4 or 5 hours later, I got a phone call from the publisher of the book.
Oh, shit.
Saying, look, you've got the book and that's fine. Not an issue. Could you please give us all the details of the store that sold it to you? And remove all photos from social networks, because that was not meant to have happened. Oh. There is a very tight embargo on this book.
Oh.
Yeah, because they didn't find my number 3, I don't know, some nefarious means, like a book, like somebody who was a friend of mine who was a bookseller.
Okay, sure.
Sent me a message saying, hey, the publisher would like to talk to you. Could you please give them your phone number?
So you got a phone call from Mr. or Mrs. Harper Collins themselves. I'm not sure if that's who the publisher was.
Are you thinking of Harper Lee, the author of the book?
No, I was actually thinking of Harper Collins. They're a publisher, aren't they? You got a call from Mr. or Mrs. Penguin.
Yeah, it was Jonathan Penguin.
Jonathan Penguin.
Wow, it's me, Jonathan Penguin.
It's a good thing it was him and not Pingu, because that little fucker is indecipherable.
Both Simon and Schuster called me up. It was a conference call.
Excellent. With Gordon and Gotch. They'd branched out from magazines into books by Harper Lee.
Yep, Gordon and Gotch, an Australian distribution company we have a bunch of weird in-jokes with, who also distribute several magazines that I've been in.
So I won't drag their name through the mud.
Why would we?
I don't know.
We have no reason to.
No, they're perfectly fine.
Now remember.
Tell you what, reading their publications makes me hyper. Wink.
They don't distribute hyper, but...
Fuck.
Your name is Mr. Thompson.
Alright. Oh, God.
So, in the end, Lisa's sad. Bart doesn't get to be president, and poor Maggie spits out her dummy during the night.
In the homocentric resolution.
Yes, in what might be a plot by Dr. Colossus that doesn't quite pan out, I think.
Oh.
I don't want to get into that too much.
Okay, good. Quick question that I've got.
Sure.
When Lisa calls Homer a baboon and he says it's the most stupid of all the apes.
It's the stupidest, ugliest, smelliest ape of them all.
Ape of them all, thank you. When do you think Homer sat down to rank all the apes?
I really like that scene because the word baboon inherently carries so much weight to Homer for some reason.
For some reason. Yeah, totally.
See,
Do you
Lisa, I don't think you know what you're saying. It's fucking great.
Do you think that's something that Lisa knew going into it? Or do you think it's a happy coincidence? Like, has Lisa heard? Because obviously, we don't get to see everything that happened in the Simpsons universe. We just get little snippets of it. Has she heard him sit around, and like there'll be a baboon on TV, they're watching an Attenborough documentary, and he'll just be like, oh, glad no one's called me one of them.
God, I hope that never happens.
Hope that never happens.
Well, we know he didn't like being called a Quidgy a big, dumb North American ape with no chin.
Yes, okay, Quidgy.
Yeah.
Well, maybe he just doesn't like being referred to as any kind of ape.
Perhaps not. He is quite ape-like in this episode, though. He's quite oafish.
Oafish, apish.
Yep, quite silly. Japing around. And
Doing
then,
some
like
jokes.
we said, at the end, this turns into a plot about Homer's insecurities as a parent, where he magically resolves everyone's problems. I do like the whole thing where he manages to fix things with Lisa by acting like a monkey and being silly,
Yes.
because it lets Lisa be an 8-year-old.
Yeah,
in that
totally.
scene. I think it is actually like a nice resolution
Totally. And
to that plot.
Yeah, and I also think that because he starts giving a very impassioned speech about the importance of coming to terms with losing important people,
Yep.
and then he gets to a point where he says, "Oh, maybe I can't explain all of this," which I like to think is one of the writers going,
Yeah.
"I'm going to intelligence Homer out of this situation." He's going to come up with a brilliantly impassioned speech which awakens Lisa's sensibilities to the idea of loss. And then they got 2/3 of the way through it and went, "Oh God, what if he just dances around like an ape? That'll be shitloads easier to write. I'll let the animators deal with it."
It's a very nice moment. And then he goes to see Bart, and he gives a slightly more, there's a bit more content, or context, or whatever, to his little speech there about why it doesn't matter they didn't win the election.
Sure.
Then he gives Maggie the dummy, and then it's heavily implied that he and Marge go and have sex, and that's the end of the episode.
And that's the end of the episode.
So-
And now that we've got your attention, because
They-
you said
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
you said
yeah.
sex.
What?
because you said sex.
Oh, okay.
Do they have a revolving bed? I can't call back to Revolver again. There's no reason for it. All right, episode 20.
Before we move
Oh.
on to episode 20, just very quickly, 'cause
I've already,
I feel like
I've already said episode 20. We can't go backwards
I was
now.
just up top because I said that
Okay.
I don't know that this episode is, quite as amazing as I remember it being, and
Sure.
then I don't know if I really said that much
Oh,
about
okay.
why,
Sure,
but
sure, sure.
sole reason I said that is that Mr. Bergstrom doesn't seem to me like the extraordinary teacher the episode makes him out to be. I find him a little
Sure.
cloying in parts. I don't know if I necessarily agree with his methodologies in places.
Is it a little
And I
bit...
feel like Lisa gets very, very invested in him without the episode giving that much reason beyond like the obvious metaphor of Lisa not being recognized usually for who she is.
Mm.
Which works on some level, but I also kind of wish the character was a little better written. That's
Is it a little
about
bit-
the extent of it.
a little bit Dead Poet Society?
It is a little bit Dead
Dead
Poet
Poet,
Society in
yeah.
places.
Is it a little bit Dead Putting Society?
It could have done with some putting.
I mean,
That is one of my notes here. It needs more putting.
needs more putting.
Mm.
Fair enough.
Hey, Nick,
Yeah, man.
what is the sound of one hand clapping? Okay, thank you.
There are the smallest of spikes appearing on the waveform there. So
Yeah, it works. We did it in a previous. Anyway, what was the next episode called, Nick?
It's called The War of the Simpsons, Jackal.
The War of the Simpsons. So is this about the Simpsons finally doing battle with Dr. Colossus and his forces?
Let me check my notes.
Da-da-da-da-da.
No.
No, okay. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, it's about Homer and Marge having relationship issues
That gets solved by a catfish
for
in a
some reason.
in a fun reversal of how we would usually think of a catfish.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now that, catfish means something different, it means that you pretend to be someone else online and then you show up to Nick's house and it was me all along.
What? Here's my question though.
Sure.
So to lure someone into a relationship by adopting a fictional persona, that's the meaning I just found on the internet.
Yeah.
Now,
I've seen the movie Catfish. It's quite good.
was catfishing in that sense a term used at this stage in the 90s. I feel like it's much more recent than that.
No, I feel like it really gets popularized by the documentary film that came out in like 2009 or so.
Right, okay. Because the reason I found that so amusing then is that there's a bit where Homer says it's called Catfish Lake. They wouldn't call it that unless there was a catfish there.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, wait, they've foreshadowed the idea of catfishing. Because the idea of saying, oh, well, no, but it's presenting as this, therefore it must be this.
Yeah. It is a bit of a fun stuff.
A fun and fortuitous foreshadowing?
Sure, that's much better, because I opened my mouth like, I don't have anything. So fun and fortuitous foreshadowing, sure.
A fun and fortuitous foreshadowing.
Yeah.
A triple F.
Yes,
Yes.
triple F.
Yeah.
Which was the, I'm trying to think who's like a lesser Vin Diesel.
No. I'll tell you exactly who it was. It was
Like
the
Gary Busey, his action franchise.
No, I think Triple F was 3 iterations before the wrestler Triple H.
Okay, that's fair. I'm just thinking the
2
Triple
iterations
X
before.
franchise. I guess if you want to do the porn parody of the Triple X franchise, you have to call it Triple F.
You have to.
Because
yeah, okay.
Triple X is, you
It's-
can't call it XXX and XXX parody. You have to call it Triple F.
Could you
An
call it?
XXXXX parody.
Could you call it Triple Sex?
Triple Sex.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Except, there's a liqueur called Triple Sex, so people might think it's just a documentary about liqueur.
I don't know that they would. I don't know how much danger
Oh.
there is of
Man, this people on the VHS cover of this, they've got their bits out, and they must love that triple sec drink that I've heard about before in shops.
So FFX, a XXX parody.
Yes,
I think
and that's episode 20 of season 2 of The Simpsons, and that's what we're here to talk about today. Now my first note here. Do you want to go to the thing that you tweeted? Can we skip? Or have you got anything before that?
I got a heap before that.
All right, cool.
We'll get to that in a moment.
Can I take a brief pause to go stir my curries?
Is that a euphemism?
Yes.
All right.
No,
go.
I've got curry on the stove
Stir away.
for our dinner. Rock and roll.
Okay, so there's a few things in the party scene I'd like to talk about.
Oh, the party scene.
A few weird implications going on in here.
Please.
First of all, I fucking love this scene. It's full of great quotes.
Yes.
There's a lot of things that I use here in my everyday life. When Homer tells that guy, you stink, your whole damn lousy operation stinks, I quit. I like that.
Yep.
Not those peanuts, the ones at the bottom. That's always how I ask for peanuts.
Excellent.
I declare this the most whimsical jig of the season. Lots of stuff here.
It's a good delivery on the peanut line, too. Not those peanuts. The ones at the bottom.
But there are some more nefarious things here as well that I latched onto.
Oh,
Some
nefarious.
that I latched onto as a kid. I'm not talking about Dr. Colossus here. I see your face lighting up.
Okay, sorry. Yes.
A few things. First of all, something I never really thought about that much.
Sorry, it would have been wonderful if you were like, there's a fly in an ice cube. Colossus is involved.
I mean, that remains a possibility.
Okay.
But, Barney gets maced
Oh, Barney.
by Patty and Selma.
Yeah.
Or one of them. And he says, is that a new kind of mace? It's really painful. So the implication here is that Barney is getting maced fairly regularly.
Mm.
Why is that happening?
Do you think it's just because he's a pest?
Yeah, that's kind of what I was
He's
thinking.
an eternal
I
pest.
thought that takes some of the fun out of that character.
It does, because, I mean...
And that he is menacing women enough that he is regularly getting maced.
Could he be getting maced by... Oh, but police-grade mace would be different from your everyday common or garden variety mace.
Maybe.
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not in the market for mace.
But I was just thinking about that. I'm like, oh, that's an ominous line. That means that he is regularly getting sprayed in the eyes. He's menacing enough.
There was a house in our primary school called Mace.
That's true, there was.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you brought it up.
Do you find it weird that all those kids were given pepper spray? No wonder why they had so... Because I don't know if you remember this. Mace would actually repeatedly win sports days in our primary school.
Yeah, they would.
Yeah.
We went...
Because...
Were we in the same house?
We
Crown?
were no. Oh, you were in Crown. I was in Charter.
Yeah.
I was in blue. You're in purple. Mace was red.
Yeah, and
conveniently
Wyvern
enough.
was yellow.
Yeah.
Wyvern by far the coolest name for a house.
Yeah. Named after a two-legged dragon.
Yeah.
Which
Well, you're just named after a piece of paper with some shit written on it.
yeah. But Mace was named after. Actually, technically, it was named after the bommy knocker. The big
Yeah,
thing.
the
with the ball
thing
from
you
the
would
end.
kill the Wyvern with.
Yeah. Oh, fuck.
So that you could wear the crown and write the charter declaring that Sports Day is cancelled.
Yeah.
That was the whole
Because
game.
so many children are on the ground crying because they've been pepper sprayed.
Yeah.
Damn Mace.
Yeah, so that's a very specific bet relating directly to... People can triangulate now and work out which school we went to as well,
True.
if they want to.
I also like the idea that someone's going to hear that one of the houses at our school is named after a two-legged dragon and go, what the fuck kind of school did you guys go to?
Now,
A very poncy one for ponces.
Yes, it was fine.
Yeah, it was fine.
There's something in this episode that always weirded me out as a kid.
Can I guess?
Yes.
Is it the fly in the ice cube?
It's not the fly in the ice cube.
Ah.
It is when Homer is lying on the ground after the party is passed out.
How dirty the carpet is under Homer?
It's not that either. Just let me get to the thing.
Sorry.
It's fine.
I enjoy the guessing game.
So, he's lying there, and Hibbert says, if you wanted to live through the night, roll him onto his stomach. And Marge says, thank you, Dr. Hibbert. And Hibbert says, remember, I said if.
Fuck.
But the thing is, Marge tries to roll him over into his stomach, fails, leaves him on his back.
Yeah.
And every time I watch this episode, I'm like, fuck, he could have died.
More than that, she wants him to.
Yes, exactly. She leaves him there to die.
Wow. And
Which,
also,
you know, obviously Homer's in the wrong here. He's been a fuckhead, but still,
Yeah.
this is like a bitter pill to swallow.
yeah. Huh.
By the way, these pills you gave me are really bitter. What's in them?
Pemmican, mostly.
Oh, okay.
It's a particularly bitter strain of buffalo. They were so expensive. I bought them.
Yeah, unnecessary.
Yeah. Yeah, but look, I know that Homer's in the wrong. He was leering at his friend's wife, who is an independent woman and doesn't need to be tied to the friend.
Yeah,
An
sure.
attribute I hate that I just did.
Yep, sure.
But also, I mean, do you think Hibbert's overreacting a bit, saying here's how to kill him? I mean, his behavior
I
wasn't...
mean, I guess it's more, here's how to just let him die.
Well, okay, yes, here's how to let him die, but even so, if you get drunk at a party,
Well,
is that... I mean, yes...
from a legal perspective,
Oh, okay.
if you've been advised that not turning your husband over will kill him,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it's not murder. I don't think it would even be manslaughter. Could it be like you get charged for negligence?
It could be manslaughter.
Could be.
Manslaughter is an act or an omission, which results in a
omission
death.
as well. Okay.
Because, yeah. Basically, any time there's a law that relates to an act, it can also be an omission, I think. Ooh, actually. Man's, off the top of my head, I mean, I don't deal with murder charges on a day-to-day basis.
Yep.
I was going to look this up, but I can't be bothered. I'll just give you what I think.
Okay, this is not legally binding.
This is not legally binding, nor is it
Nor is
correct.
any legal advice we may give on the show, especially if I give it. Not especially. It's exactly the same either way.
The only thing that's been legally binding in this episode so far is my offer to give you pemmican if you give me $200. Now, because murder requires the intent for the act that you're doing to kill someone,
Sure.
you can't have murder by omission. But I'm pretty sure you can have manslaughter by omission. Or there are other things that you might be able to get, like you can have death by dangerous driving, for example, but stuff
Sure.
like that. But maybe manslaughter.
Okay, interesting.
Maybe manslaughter.
So the next morning, Homer is still alive, unless he died and the rest of the series is a death dream, which is a possibility,
Possibly.
as far as I'm concerned. Dr. Colossus put the ice in the thing, and it, made Dr. Hibbert angry at Homer. He advises Marge on how to kill him. Homer dies. That's a possibility.
I find it strange that Hibbert stands there complaining about the potential poisoning of the plastic ice cube.
Doesn't remove it.
Doesn't
Plus,
remove it.
Yeah.
Remove it, you idiot.
Yeah.
Remove it and throw it away.
Very simple. He's very angry about it. There's a scene after this where Marge asks Homer to come into the car with her.
Sure.
And she turns on the radio and says, I don't want the kids to hear us fighting.
Mhm.
Because, I used to hate it when I could hear my parents fighting.
Sure.
And the kids inside look out, they hear the music, and they're like, they're fighting again. This sends a chill up my spine. This is the most on-point fucking scene possible, I think.
Oh, yeah.
This is the most astute, I think, observation
Yeah.
in this entire season about what it's like to be a child.
Yeah, totally.
And be like aware of
Yeah.
like the little tricks your parents are playing on you.
Absolutely.
So you don't realize their marriage is breaking down.
Yeah, totally. Here is our coping mechanism to avoid the specific experience that I had as a child.
Yeah.
And then the kids are inside going, this thing that I'm
There's
experiencing right now.
Yeah, there's the coping mechanism that I'm
Yep.
incredibly aware of.
Was it Spanish Flea they were playing, by the way?
It wasn't. No, it was.
Oh,
It's Mexican hand dance.
just a Mexican hat dance.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Which is, I guess they have a cassette like lined up and ready just
Yeah.
to play that.
Huh, okay.
So, okay, some weird stuff. We're going to get to the church now because some fucking weird stuff happens in
Oh
this
my
episode.
god, there's a special guest in the church.
So Marge goes to church alone because Homer needs to apologize to Bart
Yeah.
about the way he behaved, not to Lisa for some reason. I guess, patriarchy, etc. So
Bergstrom.
Homer apologizes to Bart, and then he goes to join Marge at the church. Two things to talk about here.
Sure.
First of all, Marge is at church alone.
Yes.
We see this. Lisa's not there. Maggie's not there.
Nope.
Homer
Marge is
goes-
sitting next to two trollish little children.
Yeah, two horrifying children.
Yeah.
Homer goes there alone as well.
Yes.
The children are left behind, despite the fact that the B plot of this episode is about how bad the kids are when left to their own devices, and
Interesting.
how Bart cannot be trusted to
yeah.
look after his sisters.
Yes.
So Homer and Marge are at the church alone, and Homer's going around the church looking for Marge, squeaking around, making too much noise,
Too much
looking
noise.
for her. And what happens?
Well, so he goes up to a couple of different people. He goes up to Maud. Maud looks horrified.
Yep.
The next cutaway
Yes.
is Homer sidling up alongside someone who I can only describe as Hitler.
Well, dictator fucking Adolf Hitler is in the church,
Now,
and it is definitely him. It is unmistakably Hitler.
it is unmistakably Hitler.
And
Now,
this is the weirdest shit in the world because I have never noticed this before.
it is insane. Now,
But Hitler is there.
yeah, and in Crepes of Wrath,
Yes.
where Homer goes over, where Bart goes over to France and, antifreeze and the wine and all that. We see in that in the Simpsons universe, Hitler is still alive. Das Carphone, das ein Nuisance-phone.
That's not in that episode. That's
Isn't
like
it?
several seasons later.
No,
That's Bart versus Australia, I'm pretty sure, because he rings around the world to find out about the toilets.
Fuck, you're right. Why
Das
did I
Phone
think-
is eine Nuisance-phone.
Why did I
It's
think
not
it
just
was
mein Führer, it's a whole
Why
thing.
did I think it was in Crepes of Wrath? Anyway.
Very fucking weird scene, by the way.
Really weird
then,
scene.
but
Okay, so it's established in the future of the Simpsons universe that Hitler is still alive in Germany. Well, I've got more concerning newsflash then. Hitler's alive in fucking Springfield, attending the
church,
church.
yeah.
Outstanding.
yeah, it is. I don't know what the fuck is going on, but like it's very clearly him. It is
Yes.
definitely not just some guy who looks like him. It is
Shall
the
the
resemblance is too close. It's nuts.
shall the artwork for this podcast maybe be that frame?
I don't know if I want Hitler being the artwork.
Ah, fair enough.
Particular
Well,
episode. I
check-
feel like you are Lisa Simpson. Is the obvious.
Oh, okay, sure. Well, check the socials. There'll be a tweet or a status about it somewhere because
From about 6 weeks ago.
from
at
about
this
6
point,
weeks
yeah.
ago. Yeah, but we'll put it up
Yeah.
again. But people
I
need-
fucking
people need-
exploded when I saw this.
It is a
though.
mental. Well, I paused it in disbelief, and then you basically lost your mind.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, the correct response.
But it's like looking at a family photo and noticing like the devil is in the background. It's insane.
Yeah, it is really weird, and I
They
don't know
were
why I
like
would never notice it.
You know, Lovejoy's up there giving a sermon about Satan's boners.
Yeah, that's interesting. The new pamphlets that the church has, including Satan's boners and good grief, more Satan's boners, which makes me wonder if they had Charles Schultz writing for the church pamphlets.
Yeah, Charles Schultz and his legendary love of boners.
Yeah.
That's what you're talking about, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Big
yeah.
old boner fan.
Yeah. Well, the only reason he called the comic strip Peanuts was, he couldn't call it.
Yeah. I mean, he didn't realize about the bonus means erections. He just meant it in the way that, sometimes we all screw up in life.
The goofs.
Yeah,
The gaffs.
Yeah,
The goof gaffs.
the goof gaffs. That was the other potential name for peanuts, goof gaffs.
Goof. Yeah, fair enough. Gars.
Yeah, good grief, goof gaps. That's what it's called. So, what else happens in this one? Homer and Marge go on the retreat, of course. Grandpa Simpson is left to look after the little kids.
Mm-hmm.
And they goof and gaff and jape all over him.
They do.
Now, one thing that happened in this episode is Bart wants to smoke a cigar.
He does want to smoke a cigar.
And you made some comments about this and how disgusting you find cigars. Is
Yes.
that right? Is that fair to say?
Yeah, cigars are not something that I enjoy. And a couple of times in my short but colourful life, I've had conversations with people while the other person has been smoking a cigar.
Yep.
And fucking hell, I've never wanted to get out of a conversation so quickly.
Have you ever smoked a cigar?
No, never.
Okay, so here's the thing. I've tried a puff of a cigar. Like
Sure.
one puff.
One puff.
Possibly two.
Two. Did you inhale?
I don't think so. I don't know.
Okay.
I think I did like what you're meant to do with cigars. And here's the thing. I really fucking enjoyed it.
Wow.
So much
Why?
that I turned to the people I was with and said, I can never do this again because this is way too fucking... I really like this. This cannot become a habit that I do. Please take it away from me.
Do you want to go get a cigar?
Kind of at all times. It's really... I don't know. I shouldn't be advocating for probably cigar use.
To me, it
on
holds
this podcast.
holds no appeal, and I get really...
I wouldn't have thought that it would either, but I was quite drunk and somebody just said, you want to try this? And I did. I'm like, holy fuck, this is incredible. This is like this is way better than I would have anticipated on the first puff. I've never smoked a cigarette in my life,
No.
and I assume I would hate those. Maybe I wouldn't because I fucking loved this one
Yeah,
puff of a cigar.
I'm kind of flabbergasted, I have
Yeah,
to say.
so was I. Like,
Yeah.
I think back on that sometime, like, what the fuck was that about?
Yeah, right.
But yeah, it was, I kind of understand Bart in this episode
Yeah.
just going around puffing a cigar.
I'll tell you who I don't understand in this episode.
Sure.
Thank you for the segue, by the way. I don't understand Homer's motivation when it comes to fishing.
Yeah, it's weird.
Homer's never given a shit about fishing previously.
Well, the thing is, he goes into
Apart from the episode
um,
where he was going to die, and then he went fishing he went fishing in then.
that was more of a symbolic thing, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. But in this one, even before he's heard about the largest catfish in the world,
Yep.
he's decided, no, I'm going to go fishing. And then gets there and becomes resolute that he, out of all others, will be the one.
That's what I find really weird. He goes into the bait shop, and the old guy behind the desk tells him about General Sherman, and he turns to the old guys at the table who talk about General Sherman.
The four old salty dogs.
Which is a touch that I really like. I like that it's just these four guys spreading this legend. He says, gentlemen, I'm going to catch General Sherman. And they react with such shock,
Yeah.
as though this guy is not full of shit and is actually going to do it.
Yeah.
And Homer is so resolute and sure that he is capable of catching this fish.
Surely,
And they react as though this is a definite thing locked in stone that he will definitely be able to do. And it is strange.
surely a more accurate reaction would be them turning around to Homer and saying, and who the hell are you? Like,
Who the fuck are you?
we are four very old salty dogs who have done lots of fishing. You're some guy.
Who the fuck do you think you are to come in here to our fishery and tell us you're gonna catch the fucking fish that we worked our whole fucking lives to catch?
I just thought of something.
Yep.
Do you reckon Power Source is based on pemmican? You know the Power Source bars?
Yeah, that are just apple cores in Chinese newspapers.
Yeah.
But I feel like the fact that pemmican contains neither apple cores nor Chinese newspapers,
Yeah, I just thought in terms of like high energy,
just a bar of shit.
just a bar of shit. Anyway.
I mean, Angie bars exist in real life. Like,
Yeah,
it's probably based on those.
that's true. Boost. We're not sponsored by anyone. I've got some noises. I've got some.
Some noises I'd like to make.
Well,
Honk!
well, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
When Marge goes through the list of complaints about Homer at the marriage retreat, she says that when he wakes up, he makes honking noises. Now, what kind of honk? Are we talking like goose, like, or like more like a car, like honk? And I'm pitching to be the new Michael Winslow. Reference to a film I've never seen.
Well,
What kind of honking noises do you think Homer makes? Is it the goose? Is it the old style bike horn? The ha 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 ha?
I think it's probably more of a Aruga.
Oh,
I think that's probably the noise he's making.
that's interesting.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. You know, in America, the salad leaf that we call rocket is called arugula.
That is true.
Yeah, and always makes me think of those old horns.
A little peppery for my taste.
Arugula.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was good.
Good
Good riff.
I'll cross off that note.
So, Homer eventually catches General Sherman.
Oh, just before we get there.
Yes.
So Homer wakes up. He stops the alarm clock from going off.
Yeah.
And he says he's got a whole plan worked out, right? That involves him leaving the cabin at the marriage retreat at 5.
Sure.
He's going to go there, and I don't remember it off the top of my head. I'm going to do this. I'm going to cook him by 6:30. I'm going to eat him, and then be back in bed by 7.
Perfect
No
crime.
one's any the wiser. Perfect crime.
Yeah.
Then he gets caught leaving, and Marge cracks the sads, saying, "We're here to work on our marriage,
Yeah.
and you would rather go off fishing."
Mamma mia, Homer.
To be fair to Homer, he did actually plan it really well to avoid any disruption to the thing that he's there to do. I feel like Homer got a bit of a bum deal there.
Yeah, I was thinking about that during the episode, and thinking, like, maybe this is why I'm bad at relationships. Is this actually a fair thing for Homer to do or not? Because part of me feels like, obviously, he did plan it around the retreat, but of course, it goes completely wrong, and he misses the whole fucking day of the retreat.
Yeah, I mean...
Which maybe Marge knew would happen, because Homer's not a particularly reliable guy.
I mean, I guess...
I think it's more about the idea that he's not as focused on why they're there as much as more than the actual thing he's going to do.
And that he's perhaps too cavalier about the risk of it all going wrong.
Yeah, I think it's just, you know, like he's not invested in the marriage retreat in the same way Marge is, I think is more of the issue there.
Yeah. See, I don't know, though, because he did plan it to avoid any disruption to it.
Yeah, but he fucked it.
Well, yeah, but he didn't know he was going to fuck it.
Yeah, but it's a fair assumption that he would, because he's Homer. And,
oh, yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, he accidentally catches General Sherman in that some kid leaves behind his fishing pole, and seemingly never comes back to try and find it or figure out what's going on, by the way. Kid just walks away.
Good point. Walks away forever.
And
this kid said, you know what? I've had it up to here with fishing. I'm going to be one of those old salty dogs down at the bait shop.
I'm going to law school.
I also don't like that the bait shop was just taking worms and scooping them into a paper bag.
Yeah, that's fucked. That's a bad way to store worms.
Paper bag's not how you deliver worms.
Yeah, how do you deliver your worms, by the way?
I don't do that. But if I was going to...
I just carry most of them in my internal cavities. I've got a really bad medical condition, by the way.
It's not very nice.
Yeah, full of worms.
Oh, you should have some... I guess you can just go eat those tablets they give to dogs. I assume that'll have no side effects on you, a human.
Yeah, well, I tried them and I'm still blocked up.
I try to say goodbye. Sorry. Try to walk away and I stumble. Though I try to hide, it's clear. My world crumbles when you are not near. That's Macy Gray.
I don't think it is.
I try to say goodbye and I choke. I try to walk away, but I stumble. That's Michael Caine.
I was going to say, is that Macy Caine?
I'm Macy Caine. Not a lot of people know that.
Just another white man taking the accomplishments of a black woman away from her.
Fuck. No, don't say that. That makes me sound like the worst person in the world.
But none of this is real.
Oh, yeah, that's fair.
Although Michael Caine was here a moment ago.
I thought you were going to say Michael Caine was real. I was like, interesting use of past tense there. Macy Gray's real.
So Homer in this catches the big fish.
Big fish.
He catches the big fish, brings it into the boat.
Catches Ian Thorpe, also known as Superfish.
Now in David Lynch's seminal 2006 text, Catching the Big Fish, he says that ideas are like water. If you want to catch little fish, you can stay in the shallow water. But if you want to catch the big fish, you've got to go deeper. By letting the fish go at the end, letting the fish back into the water and thus saving his marriage, is Homer not really catching the big fish.
What?
The thing is, if we look at the films of David Lynch, he presents very complicated ideas
Right.
in ways that are very difficult to digest.
Right.
And I just think watching this episode...
Is this like in 2009 when my history lecturer called me the Elephant Man?
Why did your teacher call you the Elephant Man?
Well, she said, now, Nick, you're somewhat of an elephant man. What do you think about this particular history topic?
Wait, what's the context?
And I said, hang on a minute. Do you mean John McCrarick very lumpy? And she said, no. Some people have ideas the size of acorns. You have ideas the size of elephants. Is David Lynch telling us that elephants live in the deeper waters?
Are you aware that David Lynch directed The Elephant Man?
What? What the fuck? No, I was not aware of this, James.
I naturally assumed that's where you were going.
That is wonderful.
Yeah, it's John Hurt, Anthony Hopkins, The Elephant Man, 1981, I think.
Oh, sure. So
black and white is really fucking good.
15 years after Revolver came out. Oh, okay. I'm starting to lose my mind. I might leave. You can wrap up the episode.
Okay, so one final thing.
Sure.
At the end, we've skipped over a lot of stuff, but whatever, it's
fuck
fine. Grandpa reveals that he's been pretending to cry. The family reacts with inappropriate shock, and then the final scene is set in the bait shop with the guy who's handing out the worms, talking about Homer, what kind of man Homer is. He's 7 feet tall. He's got hair that's fiery and red and all this stuff. He's really
a shock of fire red hair. Eyes like steel, cold and hard, I think was one of the phrases.
Yep, a voice like the Beatles' Revolver. He's got teeth made of Penegrin and something. He is Lisa Simpson.
That's a better comeback than I was going to do.
So the thing is, he's greatly exaggerating Homer, and this is meant to be like the joke is that these guys greatly exaggerate. When they're talking about fishing, I just caught a fish this big, and I'm not extending my hands, but let's pretend I am for the sake of this. But the thing is...
a riff on the classic idea of the exaggeratory fisherman.
Exactly, the exaggeratory fisherman, which is the name of my debut novel.
Oh, nice, cool.
Yeah, 1942, a woman's just lost her husband to the war, and she meets this fisherman. But it turns into a series of wacky hijinks when the man reveals himself to be a giant fish in disguise.
Oh, called General Sherman. Yeah. General War, yeah.
Yeah. I based it on an episode of The Simpsons that I took a liking to.
The one where they go to Scotland?
No.
That is a good episode.
It is the Cape Fear episode.
Oh, Cape Fear.
Starring Robert De Niro, directed by Martin Scorsese.
Robin Williams, yeah.
Yeah, Robin Williams. Dead Putting Society.
Dead Putting Society.
So... the thing is, we've got this whole thing about the fish tackle guy exaggerating everything.
Yep.
But all the stuff they said about General Sherman exactly described this fish.
Was exactly correct. There was no exaggeration there at all.
He was just the biggest catfish in the world, and they were not lying about that. And it's weird.
I don't know how to parse that.
Yeah.
Is it a lucky coincidence that there is a big catfish in that lake and that none of the old salty dogs actually truly believe that it's there?
You know what the case here is, of course.
What is the case here?
Is that they made this joke just assuming that two arseholes in their 30s wouldn't go back like 25 years later and pick it apart, pen and paper in hand. That's what's happened here.
You want to know how General Sherman got to the size he is?
I would love to know how General Sherman got to the size he is.
Colossus experiment gone wrong. But we've got no time left to discuss that, because we've really got to wrap up this episode of Pods in the Key of Springfield.
Yeah, I've got like 4 pages of Colossus notes here. We'll just...
we'll skip over that.
Yeah.
Oh, also, we definitely saw Norm, but we'll skip over that. We just haven't got this
episode.
We just haven't got time.
I reckon he was the one who was, him and Gloria were...
Queen
of the Harpies! Queen of the Harpies!
Oh, we skipped over them.
Actually, his name was Johnny.
She doesn't cook. She doesn't clean.
Johnny hasn't been cutting it man-wise for some time.
I actually think Norm is the catfish in a Colossus experiment gone wrong, but we haven't got time for any of that.
No time.
Pods in the Key of Springfield.
Yeah, that's the name of our podcast. I'm
Yeah.
James. You're Nick.
By the way.
We're on Twitter. We're on Facebook. Keith Springfield. Pods in the Key of Springfield. If you like the show, please tell people about it because it is very hard to promote a podcast. It is fucking difficult
It's really
to
difficult.
get anyone to listen to anything. Like, I was thinking,
I mean, you
on
must
all the
find it-
podcasts
Yes,
that I
sorry.
listen to, this is like the point where they start talking about like, oh, we made the iTunes top whatever, or we've had such great success. We're doing okay, but we're not like burning up the charts or anything.
Oh, no, we're not burning up the charts.
Yeah, we're not even burning up the curry that you're cooking right now, I think.
I
the curry's
actually-
not burnt, has it?
I did burn one of the curries, but
Okay, so that's something then. We've got a burnt curry to enjoy.
okay, we got it burnt curry.
Yeah. So that's step one.
It must be hard to promote a podcast when your co-host keeps slagging off the country that has one of our highest listenerships.
The second highest, yes. After
Hello,
Australia.
America. Anyway, I'm Nick Ibis. You are at Jekyll.
Yep, JICKLE.
And join us next time for more pods.
In
The Key
of
Springfield.
Springfield.
In Springfield.
Oh, do you want to do your...
I'm
your...
sick of that. I'm not doing it anymore.
Oh, well, I actually had one this time.
Okay, good.
Fuck. I made a resolution to do one from the episode. I don't ever remember anything from the episodes.
All right, well, I think we're done. So we got a retweet on one of my tweets saying, "Hey, we got a new episode. Come and check it out." I'm like, "Oh, that's cool." Checked who it was. It's a sex bot. Just a big picture of an asshole up top, like a literal. It's fine. That'll attract some sort of clientele, I'm sure.